Apple released the AirPods Max in December of 2020, and then they updated them to USB-C last year. They still sell Lightning and USB together, but neither of those headphones, which still cost $550 to this day, could play back lossless quality audio. Until now. With the release of iOS 18, Apple brought lossless support to the USB-C AirPods Max using a wired connection, like this cable that comes in the box, which is unfortunately not color matched because now you might want to actually use it in public. But for $550, you can't ask for everything, can you? But seriously, this is great, if not about 5 years too late. So in this video, I'm going to explain what lossless audio actually is, how to get it through your AirPods Max, and in the end, whether or not you should actually care. So stay to the end for that all-important question to be answered. And if you find yourself enjoying this video, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, leave me a comment, a question, a snarky quip about my weight or my hair color, whatever you want to do. It all helps the channel grow and helps me continue to help you. So let's get going with the first of these questions. What is lossless audio? Well, there are two kinds of audio in the digital realm. The one that we've had for the longest time in MP3s and that kind of stuff was called lossy audio. Lossy, L-O-S-S-Y, is basically when something is compressed down. So you take an audio file, you compress it down, and you make it smaller so that it's easier to download or something like that, then it loses information in the compression process. So not everything that was there when you started is there in the end. That's lossy audio. Lossless audio is obviously not lossy. It means that the audio file that you got on your CD or that was released to the digital streaming services or something like that, you get the full quality of that file. Until now, the AirPods Max did not support lossless audio. Why, you might ask? Well, for some reason, when the AirPods Max first came out and you could buy a separate Lightning to 3.5 millimeter cable, it still wasn't lossless. For reasons that I'm sure have something to do with the components inside, etc., etc. For whatever reason, now Apple has taken the effort to allow this USB-C cable plugged into your iPhone's USB-C port or your iPad or your MacBook or whatever to get lossless audio. But you must have USB-C, you must have the wired connection, and you must set up Apple Music in whatever device that you're using to actually stream lossless audio. How do you do that? In order to get lossless audio on your Apple device, you must go to Settings, and then you must go to, well, you just search for Music. I've already searched for it. And then you go to Audio Quality, and you click on this lossless audio switch. And then you have to go into wherever you want to be able to get lossless audio, and then you select it. So it's either cellular streaming, 5G or Wi-Fi streaming, and downloads. I set all those to high-res lossless audio. That will get you lossless. That will get you high-res lossless. Now, there is a difference between lossless and high-res lossless, which I will get to in a minute. But first off, that's how you do it. Have a wired connection, USB-C to USB-C or USB-C to USB-A will even work if you don't have a USB-C on the computer that you're using. Anyway, that's how it works. But you have to go into your iPhone or whatever and ask it to stream lossless audio instead of high-quality AAC or high-efficiency HE, AAC, or something like that. Otherwise, you might be connected, but you won't be getting the lossless. Okay, does that make sense? I guess that leads us to the question of, is everything on Apple Music lossless? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, but when you're talking about lossless, you must define your terms, okay? We've discussed lossy versus lossless. The way that lossy and lossless are sort of separated from one another is by bit rates and sample rates. So when we, back in the day, had CDs, CDs were reproduced at 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz. Now, the 16-bit refers to the number of bits used to represent each audio sample, and that directly impacts the dynamic range, or the sort of top and bottom of the resolution of the audio, while sample rate, 44.1, 48, 192, 96 kilohertz, whatever it might be, sample rate, measured in hertz, determines how many audio samples are taken per second during the recording and the playback. Okay, so AirPods Max can play back up to 24-bit 48 kilohertz, which means that there's 24 bits in each sample, and there are 48,000 samples taken per second. Okay, so 16-bit 44.1 is CD quality lossless. 24-bit 48 kilohertz is digital audio lossless. Now, as we saw in the settings for Apple Music, there's lossless and there's high-res lossless. High-res lossless is something entirely different that the AirPods Max can't reproduce, but that may or may not matter. You may see things like 24-bit 192 kilohertz or 32-bit whatever. Those are all digital formats that are higher quality than 24-bit 48K, which is the highest that AirPods Max can reproduce. But there are a lot of things that go into whether or not 24-bit 192 kilohertz or whatever it might be actually makes a difference in your listening experience. Remember that in order for these higher bit rates and sample rates to truly be lossless, the music that you're listening to must be recorded and mastered and make its way from point A to your ears in that realm, the 192 kilohertz 24-bit realm. If it's recorded in 16-bit 44 or 24-bit 48 and then upscaled to 192, you don't get additional information. That's just not the way it works. But I'm getting into the weeds here. So now that you got your AirPods Max and you hooked them up with your USB-C cable to your iPhone, and you went into Apple Music and you set it to give you lossless audio, how do you know if you're listening to lossless audio compared to whatever? Can you tell in some way what you're listening to? Well, let's take a look. Open this up. Let's go into here. I just pulled up the first thing that came onto my Jason Lewis station in Apple Music, and you see right here, it says lossless. And if you tap on this, it will tell you what kind of lossless. In this case, we are listening to 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz. So this is CD quality lossless. And you can go to the audio quality settings in here, and you can see like we've had it set all the way up to high res. So if this were available in high res, that's what we would be listening to, right? Does that make sense? So if you're plugged in and you want to know, am I listening to lossless quality, and what lossless quality am I listening to? That's how you can do it right there. The next question on a lot of people's minds is, can you actually hear lossless compared to lossy audio? And the answer is yes. But there are many factors that come into play. One is your equipment. So do you have listening apparatus that will faithfully reproduce the high quality audio? And the AirPods Max are that kind of equipment. I can hear the difference when plugged into my iPhone and listening to lossless audio between that and lossy audio. And if you want to test it to see if you can hear it too, then all you really have to do is like plug your AirPods Max in and then listen to the audio and then unplug them and listen to the audio that gets sent to your AirPods from your iPhone wirelessly. And what I hear when I'm listening is a little bit more crispness, a little bit more top end, and a little bit more openness, a little bit more space to the music. Some people describe it as, the lossless audio feels like there's been a blanket lifted off of the sound. But at any rate, it is possible to hear it. If you can't, then it may be that you just haven't trained your ears yet to listen for the differences. It's pretty striking to me, but to other people, it's not as easy. But I have many, many years of experience working with audio in high quality and low quality realms, etc., etc. You can hear it on the AirPods Max, and so crisper, more space, it does make a difference in my estimation. The final question that people have is, so does lossless audio matter? You can make an argument that it doesn't, because we've listened to cassettes and they don't reproduce sound incredibly faithfully. We've listened to lots of music from lossy sources, and the music is what matters. If the music moves you, it doesn't matter what really happened to get it to your ears or what quality it might be. The music itself has a quality that got to you, then lossless or not doesn't matter. But why wouldn't you want to hear the music that you're listening to played back at the highest quality possible to you at that moment? The answer for me is, yeah, okay, I want to hear the best quality possible. But from a practical standpoint, for all the reasons that we just discussed, it probably doesn't matter. All those factors that went into the recording and the mixing and the mastering and all that, those all play important roles in terms of how the lossless audio gets to your ears. Lossless has everything that was intended to be there, and lossy does not. So why wouldn't you want to listen to the lossless? So if you don't have AirPods Max, or if you have the Lightning AirPods Max and not the USB-C, do you need to go out and buy the AirPods Max today in order to have a transformative listening experience? The answer is no. Apple has finally made their headphones that cost more than most people's car payments capable of playing back lossless audio, which in my opinion, that should have been the case to start with. And that's a good thing, even if it is about 5 years too late. So if you have the ability to listen to lossless audio, I recommend that you do. And if you listen and you train your ears to hear the difference, you might get some more enjoyment out of your music. But let's face it, the AirPods Max are an expensive proposition. They're not perfect in a lot of other ways. And whatever way you're listening to music and enjoying it now is also just fine. So if you have any questions, comments, otherwise, let me know down in the comments below, and I will be sure to give you the answers that I have to give. Hopefully this was valuable. If it was, hit that subscribe button. Come on back and see me again sometime. Once again, thanks so much for being here. My name's Jason, and until the next time, I'm out.